Okay, guys, we're going to start with our hands-on practice activities for Chapter 11. The first one is on page 478. Okay, all right, so I got brackets pulled up here. I have my Chapter 11 starter files, also the Chapter 2 template file downloaded. So I'm going to create another new folder here for my Chapter 11 files. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. For this first one, we need to copy a few files, copy podcast.mp3, podcast.txt into our Chapter 11. All right, so let's open up our Chapter 11, so our new folder here. I'm going to make another new folder in here called podcast. All right. So let's see, we need, so in our Chapter 11 starter files, let's find podcast. So it's in starters. All right, so podcast.mp3 and podcast.txt. All right, I'm going to copy those two files into there. Okay, I'm in brackets. Let's go ahead and open up our template file. So let's go to template.html. All right, I'm going to do a quick save as. And it's in our podcast folder. Just save it as index. Okay, so let's change our page title to podcast. All right, and so what we need to do now is link these audio files. Okay, so I'm gonna go into my body here. First, I'll do a H1 heading called Web Design Podcast. All right, let's add a page break. Let's just add one more little line break there. Okay, so we need to, first of all, let's add an anchor link here, anchor element, and our href equals that podcast.mp3. Okay, let's close off our opening tag. Let's give it some text here to display. So episode 1, MP3, just so people know that it's an MP3 file. And you can do it either way. If you can add it right there, that MP3 will be highlighted as part of the link. If you don't want it to be highlighted, you can just move it outside of the anchor element. Okay. All right. And so one of the practices for accessibility is to provide sometimes provide a transcript, a text transcript. So we can do that same thing. We'll just add another anchor link here. Let's put a page, or excuse me, a line break after that first one. Href equals podcast.txt. We're going to have them download that text file. And it's called podcast transcript. Okay, so that should be about it. So let's save that and preview it. This over here. Okay, so you can see we got our our files here that are linked. We're linking directly to that MP3 file and then a text file. If I do click on them, see, we got the audio playing there in our browser. If I click the transcript, it opens up that text file. All right, pretty easy. Okay, so that's it for number 1. So let's go to the next one. All right, guys, so hands-on practice 11.2, I'm going to skip that one because I don't want you guys doing anything with Flash. It's kind of I would say Flash is pretty much gone as far as support for Flash. So I don't really see any need to do the 11.2 because we're embedding a Swift file, which is a Flash file. Okay. In the book on page 483, there is a little FAQ, talks about a program called Adobe Animate Creative Cloud. Adobe Animate is kind of the new Flash, and it's kind of nice because you can create animations and different things, but it saves it out as an HTML5 compatible file. Okay, so it doesn't rely on the Flash codec. So, all right, so let's skip 11.2. You guys don't need to do that one. Let's go to 11.3 on page 485. Okay. All right, so we're going to embed an audio element into our file here. Okay, so let's just keep the same one open that we have, okay, for this podcast. Let's change the title here. We'll call it Web Design Podcast. Okay, let's add it. We need to add a couple more files here. So let's open up our chapter 11 podcast. I do want to add starters, this podcast.ogg. Okay, so I'm going to copy that one over here as well. All right, and that OGG is just an open source audio file. Sometimes we provide multiple options. Okay, in case a browser can't open the MP3, it has the option to open the OGG file. All right, so that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Okay, so let's do a quick save as real quick here. This one, let's just call it, well, in the book, they want you to create a new folder called Audio 5 and put these in there. I don't need to do that because we're using the same file. So let's just call it index2.html. All right, so we're going to add an audio element here. Okay, so audio, and we want it to have the controls. Okay, so we need to put controls equals, and then our quotes, add controls. All right, we'll move the closing tag down here a little bit. All right, and then in our inside our audio element here, we're going to add source. Okay, space src equals. We're going to do podcast.mp3. And then we need to tell it what type of file it is. So it's type equals, and then in quotes here, it's an audio file /mpeg. Okay. We want to have that open source version available as well. So again, same thing, source src equals podcast.ogg. And for this one, type equals, again, it's an audio /ogg file. All right, and then the last one here, we're gonna actually link that MP3 file again. So href like we did in the first exercise. Okay, so we're gonna add an anchor element there. Download. So this is just so they can download that file if they wish to. So download the podcast. And let them know it's an MP3 file. All right, so that should be it. Let's save that and take a look in our browser. Okay, let's see what's going on. I don't have it pulled up, it's not working. All right, let's see what's going on here. Okay, so we got audio, oh, typo. There it is. Missing my R, that's why it's doing that. All right, so audio controls, it was just a typo. Let's resave it. All right, there we go. Okay, so I'm using Google Chrome. So this is what the in-browser audio player looks like. If you're in Firefox or Safari or the Microsoft browser, it might look a little different. But if I play it, you see that it plays. Can control the volume. And then if we weren't able to play this for some reason, the backup would be that anchor link, the anchor element link here to the MP3 would show up and allow the user to download that file. Okay, but since we have it modern browser, it's going to play it through the embedded media player. Okay, all right, so that's it for that one. Take a look at 11.4. So we're going to do a video here. All right, so we'll close that file out. And let's open our My Chapter 11. We'll create a new folder here. And create a new folder called video. All right, and we need to copy some files, starter files. So we're on page 488, 11.4, and we need to copy Lighthouse M4V, Lighthouse OGV. Again, in the book, they're gonna ask you to put in the .swf, which is a flash file. Okay, I'm not gonna do that because we don't really need to worry about Flash anymore because browsers are pretty much killing that, that file format off. So I'm gonna copy this Lighthouse M4V and the OGV. Okay, copy those into my video folder. And then we also need lighthouse.jpg. All right, we'll explain why we need that. So let's copy that one in there. Okay, I think that's it. So let's open up brackets. Let's open up our starter template file from chapter 2. I'm gonna do a quick save as chapter 11 video. We'll save this as index.html. Okay, so let's change our page title here. Lighthouse Cruise. All right, we have a H1 header here. Okay, so this one we're going to use the video element. Okay, so we're going to start with video, and then controls equals controls. All right, and then we're also going to include a poster. And this is where we're going to link that JPEG file. So this will pull up a kind of like on YouTube, you have that thumbnail that shows up while the video is static before it plays. Okay, so this one's just lighthouse.jpg. And we have to assign a width and a height. So width equals, it's just going to be kind of small, 320 pixels. And then the height is 240. Okay, then we have our closing video tag there. All right, so same thing as what we did with the audio. We're going to do source space src equals. We're going to load that M4V file. And then we have to tell it what type it is. So type equals, and this time we're going to do video /MP4. So it's an MP4 file. All right. And then let's add another one here for the open source version. So source src equals .ogv. Type equals video /ogv. Okay. All right, so then in the book, it tells you to include an embed, some embed code for that Flash document, the .swift file, .swf. Okay, we're not going to do that. Let's just keep it like this. We can include, if you wanted to, this isn't in the book, but if you wanted to have able to download that video file like we did with audio, you can do that. You just include an anchor link. So a href, again, this isn't in the book. I'm just going to add this myself. M4V. Okay, and then you just say download video file. Just like we did with the audio, we could say it's a MP4. All right, so let's save this and open the browser. All right, so you can see we have our video player loaded up. Okay, again, this is what it looks like in Google Chrome. Each browser might look a little different, but we have our play button. We can go to full screen, picture-in-picture. So again, these controls might look different on different browsers. And then we have our JPEG, okay, so our poster frame there. If we hit play. Mute it if we want. Okay, so it's playing that video file, okay, which is kind of nice. Don't have to worry about additional plugins or anything like that. Again, these modern browsers support that, which is great. Okay, so that's it for that one. All right, let's move on. Okay, all right, so we're going to switch gears here. 11.5 on page 490. We're going to work with some CSS and some interactivity. All right, so let's close this out. And we'll open up for my chapter 11. I'm guessing we're going to need a new folder here. All right, let's call, it's going to have us call it My Bistro. All right, we're going to have to copy some files here. So let's go to our chapter 11. See what we need. All right, so copy the files from the Bistro folder into Bistro folder. Okay. So all of these files here, we'll just select all of those and let's copy them into that new folder. Okay, so we got all those. Let's open up brackets. Let's go and open my chapter 11, My Bistro. Let's open the index file here. Okay, let's take a look at what we got in the browser. All right, so we're going to be working with these links up here. Okay, we're going to add some submenus is what we're going to do. All right. So page 490. Okay, let's go into our HTML here. All right, so we have our unordered list. Okay, we're going to add one for cuisine. Okay, so when somebody rolls over cuisine right there, it's going to pull up a submenu. All right, so how we do that? Let's go to our cuisine line here, this list item. All right, and then right after this closing A tag, before the closing list item tag. Okay, I'm going to add another unordered list. Okay, and then in this unordered list, I'm going to add some more list items. All right, so the first one, so we're going to have a anchor element, a href equals breakfast.html. Close that tag, and it's going to say breakfast. All right, and then we're going to do another list item, space it over so they're even. Okay, next one is going to be lunch. It's going to go to lunch.html. All right, and then our last one. It's going to be dinner. Okay. All right, so we got that in there now. If we would save this and take a look, okay, you can kind of see what's going on here. We got, doesn't look very nice. It kind of just moved everything all around. Okay, so we're going to fix that using the CSS. All right, so let's open up that bistro. So it's an external style sheet. So bistro.css. All right, and submenu configured with absolute call. Okay. All right, so we need to find the nav element selector. All right, so this one right here. And we're going to do position relative. Okay. And then we need to create a descender element for that nav unordered list. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, let's just create it right under here. Okay, so we're going to add a nav ul space ul. Okay, why are we doing that? Because it's not the unordered list of the nav, it's that submenu list of the nav. So we have to add two ULs there. All right, and so let's add our styling here. And for this one, we want the position to be absolute. Okay, we don't want it moving around. And then we're going to add a background color. There. Let's add that color value. So 5564A0. Let's put some padding in here. Okay, I'm just actually going to make that 0. We want the text align. We want it to line up to the left. So left align. Display. Okay, we're going to put it to display none. Okay, why are we doing that? Because we don't want it to show up when you come to the page. All right, so when we come to the page, we want it to look like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a hover element where we'll choose to display it. Okay. All right. So now let's create a style for those text links there within the list, in the unordered list of the submenu. So we're going to do a nav ul space ul space li. All right. Okay, these we're going to add a border around those of 1 pixel, solid. Give it the color value here. D. Okay. Have a display block. And we're going to give it a width. M. And we're going to add some padding to the left of 1M. And we're going to set the margin on the left to 0. So margin left 0. Okay. All right. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to add that that hover. Okay, so we're going to do a nav space li colon hover space ul. And we're going to have it display block instead of display none. Okay. All right, that should be it. So let's save that and let's try it on the browser. All right, so you can see when we come over, we roll over cuisine, we get that submenu where we have breakfast, lunch, dinner. Okay. And so you could style this however you want with your CSS. Okay. So you could add more padding, you make it, you can make those blocks bigger. However you want to do that. You could add some different things here for the rollover. Right. So again, this is, I would say this is pretty important because this is something that we do quite a bit in web design. It's a nice design technique for enhancing that user experience. Okay. Right. So that was 11.5. Let's see what we got here for 11.6. Okay, we can do this one real quick. Again, I don't know how often you would use this. This is just for a CSS3 scale and transform style. Okay, so let's see. Let's go ahead and close those out. We'll make a new folder in our chapter 11 called transform. And we need to copy over starters file. We need Lighthouse Island JPEG, Lighthouse Mini JPEG, and Lighthouse logo JPEG. Copy those into our transform folder. All right, and we also need starter. So let's go back here. In our chapter 11 starter files, just this starter.html. So let's copy that. All right, and let's open that in brackets. Okay, so my chapter 11 transform starter. We'll do a save as index.html. And let's see what it looks like right now before we make any changes. Okay, so we're gonna mess around with this picture here. All right, so let's locate the figure, element selector, and the style. All right, so this one right here, figure. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another property here called transform. And we're going to tell it to rotate 3 degrees. All right, so it's going to rotate it 3 degrees to the right. And then let's find, we should have an ID selector here called offer. All right, so that one. And again, on this one for offer, we're going to add a transform scale of ×2. All right, and so let's see what happens when we add those. Okay, so you get picture here, starts rotating 3 degrees. This little bottom thing scaled up ×2. All right. So again, I don't know if you would ever use these. You might. So they're available. And so there's some other transform type of properties you can look at in the book on page 290 or 492. Some other ones in there. So let's do the next one here, 11.7. Okay, so this one's actually, it's kind of nice. Let's just stay in this same file that we're in. So we're just going to work with the same file. We want to find our nav so our nav anchor element. Okay, so this one right here, line 47. And I'm going to add another property here called transition. Okay. And let's do background -color. Space 2 seconds. And linear. Okay. All right, let's see if this works. Let's just do a file save as. We'll save it as index. Anyways, index2.html. You just keep it in that same transform folder. It's fine. All right. Okay. So if you start scrolling real fast, you won't notice the difference. But watch what happens when I just kind of lay my mouse over there. See how that background color transitions? Kind of a slow transition. So it's kind of a neat effect there. I would probably set it at maybe 1 second. Let's go to 1 second, so it'll transform a little quicker. I think 2 seconds is probably too long. Again, so I kind of like that. That's a nice touch, user experience touch. So I've used that before. Let's take a look here. Okay, again, so the next one here, 11.8. So this ad, you can do some more work with positioning and opacity and transition. Okay, so it's gonna doing stuff here for the image gallery. I'm not gonna do this one. You guys can take a look at this and walk through the steps on this in the book. Okay, so it's kind of the same thing. It's using some of those transition and opacity and those type of elements there in the CSS3 that you can incorporate into things like an image gallery and stuff like that. So take a look at those in the book and walk through the book. I'm not going to do those with you. One that I will do, because I've actually used this before, it's 11.9, page 498. Okay, so let's close that out. Let's close this one. All right. We'll just create another quick little folder here in my chapter 11 called CH11 details. All right. Let's open up. I'll just use that starter, the template file. In the book, it says go to chapter 1 template. We'll just use one we have right here. So template.html. Okay. Let's change the title. Principles of Visual Design. Okay. All right, so in my body, I'm going to use this details element. Okay. So first, let's add a header here. So H1, principles, visual design. Okay. All right, so after that, let's go ahead and add the details. All right. Okay, the first one I'm going to do is the summary element. All right, so what that does is it gives us the, it's kind of the part that's going to show up that you can click on. Okay, so it's, and I'm just going to type what they have here in the book, repetition. All right, and then underneath that, I'm going to add a paragraph element. Just type what they have in the book. Repeat visual components throughout design. Okay. So that's our first one. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of these. I'm just going to copy and paste so I don't have to retype everything. Okay, so the next one is contrast, and I'll probably just, I might not even do all the ones I have here in the book. Okay, the paragraph. Visual excitement. And draw attention. Okay, let's do one more. This one they have proximity. Let's change the paragraph text here. Group related items. Okay. So they got another one there in the book that you can add. Let's just do a save as. Chapter 11 details folder index. And we'll preview in the browser and show you how this works. Okay, I'll zoom in here. Okay, so it has these little drop down, or I call them accordion. It's kind of like an accordion. Okay, which is kind of nice. So imagine if you had a page where you have quite a few of these, but then you have actually quite a bit of paragraph text in here. Maybe you have two paragraphs that take up, like 10 to 15 lines. To kind of keep your overall page nice and clean, you could use this technique where it kind of keeps those hidden until you click on them. All right, so I've actually used this technique quite a bit in web design. It's just kind of a nice feature. Okay, I think that's it for chapter 11. The rest of the book, yeah, it just talks about some of those, some of the other languages, JavaScript and Ajax, jQuery. So that's it for the practice activities. All right, so get those completed, and then you'll work on the case study for chapter 11. I'll just have you add some multimedia stuff in there, and let's see what else. Take a look here real quick. Case study. This should be the last one that you do for the case studies. Yeah, you're just going to add in a video there. Okay, so I will tell you in the case study, it'll have you do the Flash stuff as well. Okay, so you can include that if you want. If you decide not to include the Flash component, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to do that, but you can add in the video components. So, okay, all right, that's it for chapter 11, and we'll talk to you guys later.